meeting broadcast. So for opening remarks, I will just let everybody know a reminder that we are now recording this meeting and it is being live streamed on YouTube for the public. Due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, committee members are in each of their respective homes and/or places of work for the duration of this recording. Thank you to those who have joined us today and to the members of the public watching our live stream or later the recording of this meeting. On behalf of the Audit and Finance Committee, we would like to acknowledge the traditional land which we are virtually gathered is Treaty 6 territory. We would like to thank the diverse Indigenous peoples whose ancestors' footsteps have marked this territory for centuries, such as the Cree, Dene, Saulteaux, Nakota Sioux, and Blackfoot peoples. We also acknowledge this as the Métis homeland and the home of the largest concentration of Inuit south of the 60th parallel. It is a welcoming place for all peoples who come from around the world to share the Edmonton metropolitan region as a home. And with that, I will go ahead and I will call this meeting to order. And first thing, I will look to our CAO, Mr. Jankowski, to understand if there are any changes to the agenda as presented.
Mr. Chair, we have no changes. I believe the agenda that you have in front of you is what we should proceed with.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Looks like we have Mayor Ralph joining us as well. So we have our full committee here today. And so to the committee members, are there any changes you wish to see to the agenda? Seeing none, I will look for a motion then to adopt the agenda as been presented.
Mr. Chair, I'd be happy to use that.
Thank you, Ray. And I will call that to vote. Please use the raise hand function for in favor. And that is carried unanimous. The next item on our agenda is the approval of the minutes for the July 2nd, 2021 regular committee meeting minutes. Those minutes were sent out to everybody in the agenda package several days ago, so we should have all had a chance to review those. And I will look to the committee members for any errors or omissions from those meeting minutes. Seeing none, then I will call for a motion to approve the minutes. Mr. Finstad.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move the minutes be approved as presented. The July 7th, 2021 regular Audit and Finance Committee meeting minutes be approved as presented.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that. Any other questions or comments on the minutes? Seeing none, I will call that to question. All those in favor, please use the raise hand function. And I'm just missing Mayor Ralph. Are you able to give us a verbal?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, there we go. Excellent.
My connection is unstable. I apologize for that.
No worries. Excellent. So the next item on our
pushing
agenda.
Buttons, nothing happening.
We'll move on to the next item on our agenda, number 4, the introduction of Director of Finance and CFO. And I will move this over to our CEO, Mr. Jankowski, for an introduction.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Well, I'm very happy to announce that after a 2-month search, I guess it was about 2 months, we concluded our search for the new Director of Finance and Chief Financial Officer position by hiring Lori Shea Smith. Lori is actually starting as employee number 4 at the Commission today. And Lori is joining us on the call, and Lori will become a familiar face, I'm sure, to members of this committee as we move forward, and members of the board as we get into the regular board agendas as well. Lori joins us after a long career in both the private sector and a stint in the public sector as well. But most recently, Lori has been a key member of the finance team at one of the biggest transportation and transit operations in Western Canada. And Lori has joined us after a distinguished career there. Most recently, I believe she was one of the acting vice presidents of finance with that company. So Lori comes to us with a broad understanding of the transportation industry in Western Canada. Lori also spent time at the regional municipality of Wood Buffalo at one point, also contributing to the finance administration efforts at that regional municipality. And I'm very happy to announce that Lori is joining us. She's going to get involved right away in our preparation of the financial framework that the board is going to see over the course of the next month or so in conjunction with the presentation of the transportation planning initiatives. Lori is going to get her hands dirty right away, preparing or working on the preparation of the draft 2022 budget. And I should also place some thanks at the hands of Deborah Johnson, who continues to carry out exemplary work looking after some of the tactical operations on the finance side. You will be hearing from Deborah, or Deborah will be making an appearance a little bit later in the agenda as well, as we get into our report back on the regular compliance with the approved budget. But thank you to Deborah for her work in the past and her continued work as we move forward. With that, I'm happy to introduce Lori Shea Smith, and thank you for joining us. Mr. Chair, I'll turn it over either to you or to Lori. I'll leave it in your hands how to take it forward from this point.
Thank you, Mr. Stankowski. And actually, Lori, I'd love to hear an introduction from yourself as well. I think Paul set the stage pretty well, but obviously great to hear from you. So we'd appreciate any welcoming comments you have.
Well, thank you for welcoming me. I'm pretty excited to get started. Today is my first day on the job, and already at 8:30 this morning had my first call with Paul and EY. So I'm really happy to join at this stage of the year as well. I think it's better to kind of join sink or swim, get feet right into the fire. You know, everyone's working on the budgets. I'm really excited to start working with the team at EY and with Deborah, and to, move this forward. It's a very exciting time for the commission, and I'm really, really excited.
Excellent. Thank you. We're very excited to have you on board. I know Paul felt like a little bit of a lone wolf there for a while, so he's getting his team surrounding him, and that's fantastic. And we're very excited on what this means for the commission as we continue to push towards getting transportation moving in our region. So with that, then, thank you very much for the introduction, and we will move on then to item number 5 in our agenda. And that is the update on EMTSC Financials and Budget. So now I'm assuming in the future we might hear this from Lori, but being the first day, I'm guessing we're still going to hear this from Paul. So I will ask you to go ahead and do the presentation for this.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I think it'd be unfair of me to put this in Lori's hands today, but certainly in terms of preparing for today, as I said, Deborah's been involved in monitoring our compliance of the actuals to the budget amounts, and I'm very happy to report that for a number of reasons we are in good stead. We're proceeding down the path of setting up this commission. We have followed through on a number of the directions of the board, and what you see in front of you is just a summary of the line items that this board approved the budget for earlier this year, at the beginning of this year. As you can see, just looking at the bottom line, we are tracking very well. We're tracking to be underspent at the end of the year, and I'll speak to that for just a couple of minutes. The large portion of the underspend that you see during the remainder of the year, the projection for the rest of the year, is largely in 2 key areas. The incremental resourcing costs that reflect the hiring of staff for this commission. As we've spoken in the past, the hiring got underway early this year with the hiring of me. It started a little bit later than was originally anticipated when the business case was put out and the original budget was approved. And so we are proceeding with the hiring. As you heard today, Lori is our employee number 4, and we've got a number of other key positions that we'll be moving forward with between now and the end of the year. But it's fair to say that the overall staff complement by the end of the year will be smaller than what was anticipated at the time of preparation and approval of the budget. The other key area that is underspent is in the area of our sort of setting up our overall organization and in terms of our infrastructure, our lease costs. We, at this point, continue to operate out of the temporary offices that were leased by the commission here at the Edmonton Chamber of Commerce building. We are making do with 2 office spaces for 4 employees, and we have extended the lease for these 2 office spaces, recognizing that we as the first employees of the organization are going to have to rotate through these offices and continue to work from home. It coincides a little bit with our current pandemic period that we are in. Things are progressing very well. We continue to employ a hybrid work structure or work location structure. And as the board is, I'm sure, aware, many of our calls are conducted, many of our meetings are conducted from some of our home offices as well. While we are proceeding with the negotiations for a new office space, it's not envisioned that that will come to fruition before the end of the year. So while we see the reallocation of funding from certain categories to other categories, so for example, we see that there is an allocation and an overspend on the infrastructure and assets piece, because we anticipate that we'll be getting into the purchasing of technology as we move forward through the end of this year. The bulk majority of the costs associated with getting into a new office space will really be borne in 2022 and will be reflected in the draft 2022 budget that we bring forward later this or in October of this year. So we're in good stead. I won't speak to any of the other costs unless there are specific questions with regards to any of the line items. I will point out that the engagement that the board approved of Berlin to carry out the communication support, it does show an overspend in both the branding and the public engagement category. That the amounts that you see there reflect the approved engagement funding for the work that it continues to be carried out on the branding and the public engagement work. And it was recognized at the time of retaining that firm to carry out that work that the budgeted amounts in those 2 categories would be exceeded. So we do show overspends in those 2 categories, but we are overall in good shape for the remainder of this year. Happy to answer any questions.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that, Mr. Jankowski. Any questions from the committee members? Seeing and hearing none, then thank you very much for the report. That's very thorough, and it's good to see the financial position and where we're going to be sitting. Understanding, however, that some of these changes will see a significant change into the 2022 budget as well. So looking forward to seeing that come forward. So with that, then I will look for a motion. And Chantal, you can go ahead and put that motion in the record.
Yes, thanks. I will make the motion that the Audit and Finance Committee accept the material and discussion as presented during the update on EMTSC Financials and Budget as information.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that motion. And any other questions, comments, or debate on that? Seeing none, then I will call to question. All those in favor, please use the raise hand function. There we go. And that is carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Moving on then to number 6 in our agenda. It's a motion to move in camera. Can I have somebody please make that motion? Mr. Finstead, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move the Audit and Finance Committee move into in camera in accordance with the provisions of Division 2, exceptions to disclosure of the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act, or FOIP, RSA 2000, CF 25, as per section 16 through 28.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that motion. And before I call the question, I will just let anybody who's watching know that I believe our administration will move us into a breakout room for the in camera, and the live stream will just display a screen showing that we are in camera, and we will come back into the main meeting and resume the live stream when we are out of camera. Any other comments on that, Mr. Jankowski, or from our administration?
No, sir. If we can just give Agata a minute to carry out the required process, that would be great.
Yep. So I will just call that to question. All those in favor, please use the raise hand function. And that is carried unanimously. And we will give Agata a minute here to get us into the breakout room. Agata, just confirming we're good to continue.
Yes, we are. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And we had a motion from Glenn Finstead to move out of camera. Thank you very much for that, Glenn. And I will look to the Audit and Finance Committee for a motion to accept as information the items discussed in the in-camera session. Can I have somebody make that motion, please? Ray Ralph, go ahead. You're on mute.
That the Audit and Finance Committee accept as information the material of discussions as presented in camera.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that motion. And if there are any questions, ask for them now. Seeing none, I will call that motion to question. All those in favor, please use the raise hand function. And that is carried unanimously. Thank you very much. And thank you very much, administration, for the great meeting. I will give you a quick opportunity here before we motion to adjourn to see if there's anything else that you would like to add before we call the meeting to close.
Nothing from us, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And do we actually need a formal motion to adjourn, or do we just declare adjournment?
The chair can just declare adjournment.
I believe so too. So I will declare the meeting is adjourned at 3:50. Thank you all very much for your participation today. It's nice to see you. It'll be nice to see you all in person here, hopefully shortly, but we'll continue in this as long as we need to be safe. So thank you all very much and enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you Thursday.